Hello.
Did it just let you in?
Yeah, I had it. It said it was waiting for, there was another meeting
Yeah,
in progress. I was about to text Cheryl and say, hey,
well,
what's going on? And then, yeah.
I did. Yeah, because I reached out to her and I'm like, I can't get in the room. So that's funny. Maybe she left it on or something and then realized.
Yeah. So what is
So
that behind you?
good.
Is that a real background? Boyd's, Bears, and Friends?
Yeah, that's
What
my
is it?
bookshelf. Succulents.
Yeah. Is that where you got it from? Boyd's, Bears, and Friends? Or is
Oh,
that just,
this drawer? No, I just got it like from a old antique store
yeah.
and just filled it. Yeah, I need to fill all of this, but I'm still working on my office.
Yeah. I understand that. I look forward to having one again.
I know. I'm sorry. I won't rub it in. I'll keep
That's
it empty
okay.
just for you, so you don't have
No,
to.
no, 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 no. I mean, there's just
Yeah.
no. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I haven't had an office this year yet. It's my biggest year by order of magnitude. So, go. I kind of
Yeah.
I was feeling like I was stagnating at my house. So I think getting out has changed. But just like even now,
Yeah.
like when I was yoga and coach the other day, I'm like, Chris, put on your earplugs.
Yeah.
Am
Yeah.
I coaching today?
Yes.
So, and this is more of a question for Cheryl, but so we didn't keep just coaching each other the whole time. I thought we were going to have other people that we were going to coach at some point. That it wasn't just her coaching me coaching
Oh,
her. And so I don't know
let me
what,
ask her.
because I thought that was, so we don't just coach each other the whole time.
It's a small cohort.
No,
Yeah.
but she said that she was going to have other people that we were going to coach. So that
So,
maybe she meant other teachers come. I thought that we were supposed to be coaching different people.
so my friend Christine is in the cohort before us, and she's part of a Facebook group of coachees that coach each other to get their credentials, right? They get their hours and
Mhm.
stuff in. So there are things like that available. The only reason I haven't is because I just coached for people, whether I wanted to or not. So I got so many clients that I'm
No,
trying to
she
practice it on, but
she means for in class. She's just talking about
mhm.
in class.
Yeah, I have plenty of clients. Yeah, that's not, it was just that
Yeah,
I
the
thought,
problem.
yeah,
Well, we
I thought that was just something that you mentioned, that it would just be more diverse in the classroom setting, that there would be
mhm,
people like, I don't know if we were supposed to coach you or the different
yeah,
teachers or what, but I just thought that was gonna be something she
I'm
had
asking
mentioned.
her.
Yeah,
We have like 5 classes left, I think, including this one.
yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
have
A
much
lot.
coaching opportunity left.
Yeah, submitted my first call, though I don't think it's good enough to probably pass this course. It's not big enough, good enough for my PCC. So I'm getting my next one. I think, yeah, I think I have to arrange.
I sorry, I'm thinking about what I'm saying back to Cheryl, but I'm talking out loud because I'm listening to you guys and then I'm so confused to what I'm saying. We can I play it from my computer then? I'm assuming I can. She said we can listen to a recording of a PCC that passed if you would like to do that tonight.
I would actually, yeah.
I like to know the standard.
Great. Well, I guess we're listening to mine, which she just said, listen to yours. It's on your computer. So we're going to listen to one of the ones that I submitted. And I'll ask her for next time because I don't know, I don't have it handy. Yeah, there's a YouTube link that I don't have that has some, um, but they're not like PCC, they're ACC. So I think PCC is more, especially what Allison wants to hear.
Yeah,
Yes.
So it's
me too.
better to shoot high.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now I'm lost. So how's everybody's day gone?
It's busy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm onboarding my new client, trying to get organized. And
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, it's just busy.
We love to know who the client is.
It's Nutanix. It's a $1 billion company.
Oh, Nutanix.
Oh,
They were my last company I worked for. They're $1 billion tech company.
It's a tech company. I was just gonna ask.
Yeah,
They're not like a
it's
tanning bed supply company.
no, I come from the tech. Oh my, yeah, no, I'm the tech. I
Well,
coach in
yeah,
the
I
tech.
know, but it sounds like.
So the name is, though they kind of came up with some funny stories, they actually just used a random name generator because to come up with it.
Oh, well, that makes sense though for a tech company.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh. I mean, I
did you
worked with,
try the mental space thing? Did you manage to try that? Did you get up and do your meditation and
no, it's so funny because I had this thing in my calendar called Insight. And I'm like, what the frick is that? And then I realized like, oh, that was the Insight timer for my meditation. No, I just, yeah, I think tomorrow morning, everything is like, I'm just starting so early and I just get up and go. So I need to, like this morning, I didn't lay in bed. I didn't lay in bed. I just got up and,
Oh,
yeah, but, yeah, it was funny.
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
I didn't even know I'm like, Insight, is that, because I've worked with a company called Insight before. I'm like, I haven't talked to them. So yeah, it took me a while to remember what that was in my calendar. So yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's funny. I
Yeah.
love
mm.
that. Proof that you needed
And
it.
well, that's the irony.
Yeah.
It's like going to like walking into a room and being like, why did I show, why did I come, why am I here?
Yeah,
hmm
good. How was your day, Bonnie?
Well, like I said, I was complaining that I didn't have enough clients, and this week I've just finished my 10th, and I've got some with suicidal ideation and some
Mm.
running over lunch hour and
Mm.
that I have to check in with on weekends and stuff. And so I said I wanted my 12 clients and I'm exhausted at 10. So
Yeah.
I don't know where they came from all of a sudden.
I mean, I can guess what when it propelled them to need more counseling than usual.
Well, and
And I,
two, I think my profile has been indexed on Google and I think it's starting to take. And I did
yeah,
also buy some advertising.
there you go. Yeah.
So I think $90 a month or something, and I've already gotten
Yeah.
4 and I've only had it a week.
That's
So
Oh,
great. Where are
it
you
works.
that's
advertising?
amazing.
Facebook or Google?
No,
Or
I go through
Instagram?
something called Theravive, and you can also be a coach on there as well. Because people are starting to figure out that coaching is a really good alternative to therapy. I can tell you in the US, the training is different than in Canada. The US therapists have a lot less training and a lot more limited scope. So people are frustrated and not getting results. They also underpay. So a lot of people are starting to look at coaching as an alternative to therapy because they don't want to hear
Underpay.
just where did you feel that in your body and what was that like? And where did you feel that in your body and what was that like? And what the way they put it to me is it feels like a script. They don't want a script and they want ideas.
The clients think they're underpaying, or
They
the
are underpaying
therapist.
therapists. So therapists are not staying put and they're bailing on their roles and they're looking for something better. So they'll get into a company, get their money for a little bit, go find something
Mhm.
better and abandon everybody that they'd made relationships with. So, I
Mhm.
mean, for me to go get a job as a counselor, I would
Mhm.
be lucky to get $20 an hour. And I'd have
Um,
several certifications and a double master's degree, postmaster's
yeah.
degree, like $150,000 worth of education. And to make $20 an hour, I'd make more at a coffee shop. At least I could get tips.
Tips. Yeah.
It's a lot more fun.
Right.
So people are cluing the people. When you talk to the people, they have
Hmm.
discovered this thing called coaching, which we would call
Hmm.
more consulting. And
Hmm.
that's what they would prefer to therapy, the way therapy is being offered at this present time. At least this is my experience in Washington.
Yeah, what you're hearing on your side.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Always
It's good,
interesting to hear. Yeah.
uh, especially to hear from the people, not from
Hmm.
people selling advertising or AI or,
Yeah.
this is what the people
Right.
are telling. So I thought that was pretty good
Yeah.
info.
That is good info.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, tonight we're going to look at chapter 12, and we're just going to take a look at understanding our clients' context, backgrounds, what's going on with them, and how we can like dig into that. Sorry, I really did have a cold. When I said I think I was getting a cold, I've been in bed since we got off the phone. So this late afternoon, I was like feeling better. So I did shower. I just threw it back up, and I'm sorry, I'm not like, but it was crazy. I was like, I think I'm getting sick to y'all, and then it was like,
Hmm.
but then like as the day's going on today, I'm like feeling a lot better. So that's good. I'm glad it's not sticking around.
Your
And I
color's
don't know why I
good.
just said that. No, thanks. Okay, so we want to look at the different things that are in our clients' lives, right? So they have the professional world that they're in and they're about. They have their family life that they're in or about. And then they have like their friend group, right? So they're sociocultural, Can someone say that word? Because I cannot.
Sociocultural.
Sociocultural. That just sounds weird. Okay. Yeah, we don't use that word a lot.
No.
No. They're friend groups, the people
Mm-hmm.
that they spend their time with. Um, and so, I think we are, especially since 2020, realizing how much our professional lives like bleed into our family lives and everything else that we do. And I'm not sure how it is out there for you all. I mean, especially you, Allison, being out in the tech world, and tech people work like crazy. If people are back to like crazy working, or if they still kind of like kept more of a balance.
No, they're crazy working.
Okay.
I don't think that stopped
Because
during the pandemic because technology still had to come, product,
that's
IT,
true.
if anything, the systems probably got stressed more because companies had to learn how to set up remote workers and set up
That's true.
more security and all of that. Yeah, I think a lot of them are doing, they only have to come in the office like 2 days a week though. They're not back
Oh,
to,
okay.
they're not
That's
forcing
good.
5 day week, but
Yeah.
at least in Nutanix, they're only in about 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. Well, and I have to ask these questions because I was in South Carolina and we're already laid back. We're already bringing the office to the golf course and to the boats and, all that stuff, anyways. And then 2020 happened and it just like really slowed everything down. And I think one of the good things, at least down there, that happened was the time that families started spending together. Um, it started to be more like when we were kids, right? I mean, you ate dinner with your family. That was just like normal. And so I know a lot of friends now have like instituted, we do X amount of dinners together. And how many sports the kids can do and not do instead of like signing them up for everything, you know. Um, so all that to say, I was just thinking how the pandemic, I think at least showed people that weren't aware or thought they weren't being affected by like their work into their family life. I think they saw that. And in the areas that I was in, it had a good effect. And there's really barely, yeah, anybody in South Carolina going back to their offices like twice a week, unless you work at a coffee shop. um, or we have a Mercedes factory. So those people are going in, things like that. Yeah.
Well, this is the first time in my career working online. I had never worked online prior to
Mm-hmm.
counseling down here after the pandemic.
Yeah.
I like it a lot better because
Hmm.
it's just enough of a barrier to make it bearable. If I have to see all
Yeah.
of these people in person and then can't get them out of my office,
Right.
just draining.
Hmm.
And then you lose time getting ready to go and all the other
Yeah.
stuff too, right? You lose about 3 hours of your day just
Hmm.
preparing to go and coming back.
Yeah. And then paying for an office.
Hmm.
So to me, the sociocultural norms are what I deal with is more, I have a lot of clients who are Indian, like literally all 7 of
Hmm.
my clients from Nutanix are Indian.
Yeah.
And the women, and then like we have the same mom, right? There was that the Jewish culture and the Indian culture and the Southeast Asian culture
Hmm.
are very similar in the almost like that immigrant mentality of you're in
Hmm.
America, you know, we got you this far, you got a better life for yourself, high expectations. And so I think for me, it's understanding the social cultural norms where I'm not a therapist and I'm not digging into their relationships with their mother as I'm doing
Hmm.
having them do the positive intelligence and they come up with the saboteurs. I have a lot of, which are similar mine, the hyperachievers and perfectionists, or they call sticklers, because of how
Hmm.
we were raised. And so their social cultural norms inform me um,
Yeah.
you know, how their expectations on themselves and others, right? And because I'm uniquely aware of that tendency,
Hmm.
I can see it so clearly, right, in others.
Yeah.
So the sociocultural norms are really interesting to understand too when you're learning about their family situation and all
Yeah.
of those things. It's you know that so you know reading through it right now is saying that's where the social and cultural norms come in for me, right? Is the family and
Hmm.
the expectations. It's not really the working at home and all of that. It really is
Gotcha.
the
Yeah.
culture, the pure culture, because
Yeah.
in Indian culture, and it's also the immigrant thing. You know, if the
Hmm.
parents got you to America, and I have a client
Yeah.
who is like in tech, but I just want to go off and be a singer. It's like,
Hmm.
that how do you deal with that, right? With the familiar expectations. So
Right.
that's to me what I deal with is understanding. I have a lot of, a tech male and they don't have emotional intelligence,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So, when I did a talk last week and I said, if you guys take nothing from this, if you can go, we talked about the sage energy and if you can go into meetings with
Hmm.
empathy and curiosity and
Yeah.
creativity, but the Indian males are just very direct and very matter of fact and data driven.
Yeah.
1 + 1 is 2, and if you don't see that, you're
Yeah.
wrong. Right. And so
Yeah.
a big part of it is understanding their culture and how they communicate.
Hmm.
Where an Indian man talking to another Indian man like that might not be a big deal, but in a corporate environment,
Yeah.
it's different. So that's what I have to understand for my clients
Hmm.
are the sociocultural norms because it does inform often their communications, their emotional intelligence, the pressure they put on
Yeah.
themselves, the self-expectations. So that's how what I consider sociocultural norms and impacting coaching.
That makes a lot of sense. What's your background?
As far as
Well, you said you had insight.
I'm primarily I'm pretty I'm 99% Ashkenazi Jew from northern Ukraine and Belarus
Okay.
region.
Oh, that's cool.
My grandmother was born in Palestine, but that was
Mm,
before it became Israel. But they came
yeah.
from, if you know the Fiddler on the Roof story,
Yeah.
yeah, the Jews got kicked out. That's my
Right.
family. My grandma's family
Okay.
was kicked out of, that area and had to go somewhere. So they
Yeah.
went to the promised land, right? And then there's these horrific stories of them trying to get to America.
Hmm.
And my great grandfather took them to all these countries and they got arrested and thrown in jail and thrown out because before Hitler, if you weren't a native born Jew, you were expelled from countries and it took them years to finally get
Yeah.
to him. And then they kept getting arrested and thrown back because he was keep stopping to avoid the army. And then he got here a year later. He got my grandmother and her 3 siblings here, and then
Mm,
both parents died, and they end up in foster care. And then
Oh,
my grandmother gets married, has 2 kids, and then her husband dies on a ship during World War II that sunk off the America coast. So we were brought, so she is
my
my
gosh.
grandma and my grandma who raised us, was in the house with us, that hardship. And so there was always that,
Yeah.
my parents like not wanting my sister and I to suffer, that struggle the way they did in their upbringings. It was that push, push, push for the better life. So my sister and I both have advanced
Yeah.
degrees because we didn't know we could say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I understand that with the Southeast Asian clients, we got you to
Yeah.
America, right? You got you to
Yeah.
America, you're gonna do something with it. And so I
Yeah.
grew up in that mindset, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so I can see
Well,
that in my clients.
what an amazing story your family has.
Whereas I just simply overachieved because my mom told me nobody loved me and never would. And so I decided to pile on the accomplishments to try to get to where somebody would.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah,
that's the other reason
I
why
also
people
had the,
overachieve.
well, yeah,
What's that?
Yeah.
I never got the pat on the back and the good job. So it was that constant, how much higher can I climb? I mean, the first time, not to get, the first time my mom ever hugged me was when I went from 78th in the nation to 9th in the nation in swimming. So I got hugged because I earned it,
Oh,
not because it was Tuesday. I was a nationally ranked swimmer when I was younger.
wow.
Yeah, and so yeah, so I know that, the constant need to prove,
Prove.
right? Prove. Maybe if I do this,
Yeah.
if I do this better than everybody else in families that were done, maybe this will make me lovable. Or if I do this, this will
Yeah.
make me
Yep.
lovable. So yeah. Yep, I grew up in that
It
house.
didn't work. It just got me hated more because then I triggered jealousy in
Mm.
both my mom and my sister. So it wasn't a great strategy in the end. But it pays the bills
Now you
now.
know. No, right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, like what I said on Monday, like we become the coach that we wish we would have had at a certain time in life. And that's who we end up helping because we've been there, we've been in their shoes, we can identify the things that they're going through, whether it's exactly the same or like parallel, like Allison's talking about. Um, yeah, so there's different things that you can do for your clients. And I think you guys are doing this more. So there's a holistic coaching models that you can use. So not just work related, but doing, like we were just talking about, speaking to the personhood, speaking to their culture, speaking to their families, those kinds of things, and affecting and understanding why they act the way they do in certain situations, um, and how we can help them, not help them, like whatever they want the goal to be. And then there's context mapping. So, and I think this is I'm very visual. So anything visual for me helps. I like doing the big post-it notes on the wall with clients. And, when I'm like first meeting with them a few times and we're talking about like what's their overarching like goal, right? And you're kind of setting up a plan like Allison was talking about on Monday that you can pull out if they don't have anything. um Having something like that, I don't make it like super cute or anything, but I think just so any kind of thing mapping or even that your clients can do to like track their own journey. So easy to accomplish one thing and then 2 days later think, well, I haven't accomplished anything. Well, you just did something really big, right? But then that also speaks to our lack of really celebrating and enjoying when we hit like a milestone, when we hit an accomplishment. And then we have our systematic questioning. So we can use our powerful open-ended questions to figure out how these different areas of their lives are playing into one another, if they are. So how does your work setting affect your decision making? How does your family situation affect your work setting, right? All those kinds of things. And then we have just active inquiry. So getting into our client's environment with our questions. what cultural aspects are important for us to consider as we work together. I think it's great that you identify Allison and like talk about that with them, like it's known. And I don't know how much you get to do that, Bonnie, but like I have one friend who very, I mean, she's Southern, born and bred, everything. And so I still have questions, like, because I wasn't everything in the South. So I'm always asking her questions as I'm like, hey, I was interacting with someone and this happened, or how should you do that? Because I'm trying to be culturally sensitive. And I think that's why I love living in the South after living overseas for so long and observing cultures. In Austria, I couldn't talk. I mean, I could, and they could understand me, but I was learning German first. So, it forced me to really shut up and just observe. And I have loved that since I've been back and just watching people. But as coaches, we can watch, but we really have to ask the questions. Whereas like when I went overseas, they didn't want us to ask a ton of questions at first. They wanted us just to be watching and paying attention. I paid attention to the commercials a lot, and then I would go to my language lessons and I would like, because you're starting at the beginning of a language, so you only know like one form of a verb, but then there'd be like a TV commercial with a really catchy jingle. So then I would go to my
Can't hear, oh,
to my,
lost you for a second.
I know it keeps trying to go to my phone. It's weird. It was one of the updates and I don't know how to undo it. But I would go to her and like sing the jingles and I'd be like, so how is this verb and why are we saying it this way? And anyways, I'm getting off track. And then life balance. So working with our clients on their life balance, if that's something that they need, right? If that's something that they want, that might not be what they need or what they want or what they're looking to accomplish with us. But if it is, you know, getting them to talk and think about how they're managing the different areas, the different factors in their lives, and how they're prioritizing them. And then also, I mean, with all of it, like the values, if these are your values, again, like back to when people don't feel aligned, it's because they're making decisions that don't align with their values, right? So I can only imagine, being an immigrant and living with my family or very close to my family and them wanting me to succeed, exceed, right? But then you go to work and I could understand someone kind of making themselves be someone else to fit into the workplace. And then like, but their value is family, their value is culture. Like it could just get really, really messy. And so always making sure that our clients are making decisions based on their values. And then as far as emotional intelligence, one, we can teach it to them if they need it. But empathy, just showing them empathy. And encouraging is not the right word, but just, the simple statements of it's understandable why you feel that way. It makes sense that you feel this way in a current situation or whatever's going on, just really empathizing with them so that they hear and see they're not alone and they hear it from us, especially if they're not hearing it from somewhere else, right? And then self-awareness. So helping our clients really with, first of all, our own self-awareness. But I think the three of us are fairly decent at it. But we'll continue to work on ourselves. But as we work on ourselves, then being able to help our clients with their own self-awareness and the things that they're learning in coaching sessions and how are they applying them, right? Like they can become aware of them, but like the client growth, are they really putting them into use? Are they seeing how it weaves into their daily life now? Or was it just a nice conversation that they had with us during a coaching session? And then social skills. So making sure that, you know, the client's contextual cues align with what they are saying. Again, so like Allison was just saying, if a client's from a background where directness is valued, be straightforward in your questions and when you're reflecting back to them, right? And understanding, at least, that's how they're going to communicate with other people.
Yeah, there's two components to that too, right? Like one is, we call it, when I was in sales, mirroring,
Mm-hmm.
right? I remember I had some clients and they're like, you talk fast. I said, I'm mirroring you. And I'm with my slower talking clients, I mirror
Yeah.
that. And they're like, oh, I said, yeah, I'm just matching your energy. So there's mirroring and using their context and speaking,
Mm-hmm.
in communication, you speak in a way that people receive information, not that you want it, not how you want to give it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the other piece. But then the other piece is an understanding of if they're communicating. One of the things I coach on is communication. It's a big thing in the corporate world.
Yeah.
So many different aspects to it. It's not just their words,
Yeah.
right? It's the energy, their intention, the
Yeah.
lack of emotional cues. So, when you use that as information, how they communicate with you. Like, I have one that's just, she's always got this victim. She's strong, but it's like they this, they that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
Mm-hmm.
information is like, okay, this is someone who communicates from a, anger place and rebellion place.
Mm-hmm.
And, so there's a lot of information available if we pay attention.
Yeah. So then how do you speak to her?
I'm still working that through. I'm still figuring
Yeah.
out the breakthrough there. It's challenging, and I'm getting some supervision to help on that.
Yeah.
Because I really want to do a great job for her, because I think it's tough, because I used to work at this company and I know they're unfair to women, and I know being a strong woman can
Mm-hmm.
come across negative. And so it's really to try to get her to, to kind of have the empathy to say, listen, I understand the culture and I understand the environment and I understand it's not
Yeah.
always fair, but that's true and that's real. So
Mm-hmm.
knowing those parameters, you have to learn to communicate in what's there, not what should be
Yeah.
there, what should be
Right.
there, but what is there.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's thinking about leaving the company for a few reasons. And I said,
Mm.
and I said, and the company knows that. She doesn't know that I know that
Yeah.
the company,
No.
yeah,
Right.
all that. But the whole point to her is that, you have, these are gonna come, these challenges
Mm-hmm.
don't go away when you change situations. They might not be as
Right.
magnified, but if you are having a communication style, and
Mm-hmm.
then with the 360, she had some awarenesses, right? So it's just keeping her
Mm-hmm.
honest with those awarenesses. But she has to decide, I don't set the agenda though. So I can't say,
Yeah.
based on your 360, let's focus on your communication today. So like last week, I thought we were
Yeah.
going to, and she brought up something completely different.
Yeah.
And so I don't get to set the agenda.
Right.
If she brings these situations up, it's different. And in
Yeah.
these cases with the communication, I can't always stay 100% ICF mode with them, because
Well,
sometimes
yeah. No,
they
you have to
need
teach.
yeah, there's a little bit of teaching. Well, but I try not to first. I really try to exhaust
Yeah.
every possibility. I'm like, okay, if
Mm-hmm.
you weren't stressed,
Yeah.
how would you have done this differently? If you
Yeah.
had the perspective, which one of them stopped in her tracks. I have two women that are having this. If you had the perspective that everybody in the room is actually just trying to do their best,
Mm-hmm.
what would change about your interactions?
Good question.
Yeah, because part of what was going on in there is like she has a one that's almost like Tourette's. First response is
Mm-hmm.
no. She's a verbal processor and it's causing problems in
Yeah.
her group. So I said, what if you go into that meeting with the belief system that everybody is just trying to do their best and trying to get
Mm-hmm.
their job done
Yeah.
and not take it? And then I have talking to her about the 4 agreements, not taking things personally. If you're familiar with the book,
Yeah.
The 4 Agreements. So what if you
Yeah.
went in there? So her
Okay.
work is to bring in um to not take things personally, to the 3 steps were to not take things personally, go in there with the intention that
Mhm.
everyone's trying to do their best, and to do some self-regulation, emotional regulation beforehand through
Mhm.
breathing. So that's her formula that we'll
Good.
find out. I'll find out tomorrow how it's working.
How that worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, I said, you're gonna have to be intentional for a while on these things until
Mhm.
they can become automatic. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how I deal, but that goes back to the whole positive intelligence about, how do you get out of saboteur mode? Fear and
Mhm.
anger, and they're out to get me, and they don't support me, and they're just,
Yeah.
they don't respect the work I'm doing, to sage
Mhm.
mode of curiosity and empathy, and
Yeah.
saying, um, you know, they're trying to do their job too. They might not be
Mhm.
aware of some things of why this isn't
Yeah.
possible. I have an opportunity to educate them, but what do I need to know about them? Like, why is this important?
Yeah.
Like, before you say no, why is this important? Why is this important now? One of the things I'm trying
Mhm.
to teach them to say is, I want to help you solve this. Based on my workload, which
Mhm.
is from your group, where is this in the priorities? And to
Yeah.
get them, what I really focus on with them is, how do we enroll people into the conversation? And you do
Mhm.
that by saying, these are the 10 things that our team is working on for you right now. You brought in 11th. Resources are
Mhm.
finite. I wish I had more resources. I don't.
Yeah.
How would you like this to fit into the priority? And then they get to solve it, not you, right? So it takes you off
Mhm.
being the bad guy. So these are kind of the things I teach is, how do you enroll them into the conversation?
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting. It's interesting as a person who doesn't struggle to communicate to think about how do you enroll someone in a conversation when you just do it, right? So to think about it from the perspective of someone where that's not their forte.
Well, think about these. They're very stressed people. They
Mhm.
get asked to do a lot, and it's not a lot of time with never enough resources. And then somebody
Yeah.
wants them to do more, and so they're reactive.
Yeah.
So they're situationally reactive.
Mhm.
But I'm guessing, and we haven't talked about that. I'm guessing she might be that way with her kids and her husband too at times.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out what is that, and we talked about where the source of it comes from and all of that, but I can't, but that's my job, is to see the things they can't, right? That's why they hire me. And
Mhm.
I see that she's not, biggest problem with, they're all having the similar problem, is they're not enrolling people because they're binary thinkers and they're
Mhm.
technologists. And I told the one guy today, because we went through his 360, he did his, and I onboarded him today, and I said, it's typical in technologists, myself included, that we get the technical skills down and the emotional intelligence, and we're very binary, we're very matter of fact, we live and
Mhm.
die by data.
Mhm.
People live and die by our data, businesses live and die by our data.
Yeah.
And so we don't always make the room for the emotional component of it. And what I teach them is that you might get to the same result in the conversation, but what if you
Mhm.
can make people enjoy the process a little more? And I have a great story
Mhm.
of, I was coaching 8 people at this company, and 3 of them went to talk to the CEO about stuff. All 3 of them got
Mhm.
no's. All 3 of them love the
Mhm.
CEO. The CEO made them feel heard, valued, respected, listened
Mhm.
to, talked it out,
Yeah.
explained her decision process. And so I use that as an example for them. I said, this is a
Yeah.
CEO that is like, it was no. Every one of them got a no, and
Yeah.
every one of them thinks she's the greatest CEO ever.
Mm.
So it's not that you're saying no, it's how you're saying no.
You're saying no. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the
I
kind of stuff I get into in my coaching.
like it.
I have another quote I use: don't make people wrong before you make yourself right. So you go in
Mm.
there,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's an Allison, I have all these little Allisonisms.
I
So,
like that.
yeah, and I did that. I was, for me, going, listening to people's pitches and being like, well, that's a mistake, that's a problem, that's not gonna work
Mm.
for us. And I totally
Yeah.
nullified instead of saying, I appreciate the roadmap, I can see how it's gonna address some of our challenges. One of the things we
Yeah.
talked about was this, I'm not seeing it here, right? Instead of saying, why didn't you do
Yeah.
this? But that took maturity and growth on my part. So it's about
Yeah.
not making people wrong first.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I do a lot of communication, and it's not like I follow anybody's modality, it's just my life experiences.
Yeah. And again, because we're coaching to the people where we were when we wished we would have had a coach to help us with some of this. So that's why your isms work so well.
Yes.
So when we do recognize all these different aspects of our clients, then we can tailor it to our coaching techniques and how we're interacting with them, right? So with the goal setting, making sure that they are setting goals that are achievable within the time frame that they have. Especially an overachiever. We don't want an overachiever trying to overachieve in life coaching. Like that's the opposite of coaching. We're trying to help you like undo some of that. So we don't want those same things to be happening. And then having
Well,
situational,
and I'll just say it's not the overachieving, it's the energy behind it when it's coming from a place of
yeah,
fear, anxiety versus flow and ease and joy, right? So I don't think
yeah,
it's the
what we're saying.
overachieving, it's the, I just, in my world, it's not, it's the context and the energy behind it. So it's getting out of friction and getting into flow, right, is what I've tried to focus
Yeah.
on, because they have goals they have to accomplish that, you know, for the
Mhm.
company and for themselves, but you should be able to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
That's a good way to say.
that's why, that's my whole thing is, I can't stop an overachiever from having goals. I don't want to tell them, you know, though I typically don't coach people that are money oriented, I can't say, don't try to make
Yeah.
$1 million, but I can say, you know, what if you were able to do this from a joyful perspective, what would change?
Right. Yeah. And then with our empathy, we can use that again in understanding, but and also adjusting strategies as our clients change or their work situations change or things in their families change, um, or they lose a person in their life, all of those things. And then we want to be emotionally attuned to our clients. So like Allison, you were just saying, like provide support that acknowledges the emotional undercurrents, right? So what if you could do this without the stress? If there was joy in the journey, um, if oh, what was one something you said on Monday or last Wednesday? Now I can't think of it.
At which point?
I'm having people think like it's already happened. So like go into the situation like it's already happened. So under emotionally attuned support. So you're talking about like getting your clients to think, what if, you know, what would it look like to do this from a place of joy? What would it look like, you know, to assume everybody is doing their best? They're not out to get you. But there was another way you said it the other day. I should have written it down and I can't think of it. Um, but then we can use
Don't ask me
different
to
approach.
remember, I don't remember.
No, I know it'll come. You've gotten the point across tonight. But I think it was an Allisonism. That's why.
I know, when I taught a class, they all wrote down all the Allisonisms, I never got, I don't remember what happened with them, but yeah.
No, that's good. It's funny. I have when I was living in Austria, there's a gal who had been there many, many, many years before me, and she's still there now. And she has a dear best friend who's Austrian. And her Austrian friend was already really good at English because this lady lives in Vienna. So, you know, you live in the big cities and they're forced to learn these things younger, which is great. So her English was fairly good. But of course, becoming best friends with an English speaker, you know, they really would try different ways of communicating in English or communicating in German, those kinds of things. But what started happening was the Austrian gal then was going back like into her workplace. She was teacher, she probably still is, going into her workplace and using certain phrases to communicate things like, well, this is what they how they say it in English, or this is what they do. This is how we should be saying it, kind of thing. All this to say, she was just learning Lisa, her name was Lisa, Lisa-isms, and she was learning the things that Lisa's family said, not that all Americans say, right? But she's under the impression she's learning this is what all the Americans say. No, like we have to be aware. So I just thought it was really funny when she realized that, and that's exactly what we're saying. So then just different approaches to understanding the contextual factors of our clients. So the environmental scanning. So, have our clients discuss their current environment, their challenges, their support systems, like we've talked about, doing a wheel of life assessment, just to get, again, that visual representation for the client to see, or any other things that you guys are already doing to help them have that insight.
Bonnie, are
And
you
then
aware of the Wheel of Life?
I'm aware of that one. I was looking up the value map piece though, and I couldn't find one that I liked. It would go off into different directions.
Well, yeah, I have my own that I do, so I'm
yeah,
not using anybody's formula. I'm using
Yeah,
my
every
own.
time I try to do it, it takes me somewhere else. I ended up actually looking at client journeys is where I ended up. So I tried to find a values map, but I couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, mine was, we were taught values, the parts at CTI, and then my first coach who came from my school did an exercise with me, which I've adopted, and then I've expanded myself over
I
time.
wanted a visual one. In neuro-linguistic programming, I learned how to do it, but I wanted something visual. Like that you could put in a workbook kind of a thing is what I was trying to find, and I couldn't find anything on it.
Yeah, I created one for a speaking gig. I've kind of created a little workbook and do that. You just kind of, the biggest thing is, what does a value map mean to you? Because for me, it's a word with a bunch of descriptors under it and so I do questions. Normally I guide it, but I was doing it in a group environment. And so I created a workbook kind of for them with that. But it's just trying different iterations of things and,
Well,
you
in
know,
NLP, you write out a bunch of them, and then out of, like, say if you put 15 down, okay, you only get one. Right? And then you do that until eventually all 15 are in a line, right? Like in a row, so that they're prioritized. And then I added to that, like those values will lead to rules, right? And things that we believe if you, right? Because the values drive action. So the idea was to connect the values to the things that you're doing so that you're doing that consciously, right? And you're going to do that based on a set of rules. So whatever your values are going to end up in a I must always, I will never, those kinds of things. I ought to, should, whatever. And coming to understand those too. But I wanted a visual one, and I really want to start using, what do they call that in Zoom, that
whiteboard.
whiteboard idea, because as people are talking, I can draw out their scenarios and mathematical formulas
Yeah,
for what they're saying. They could see it, it would help them. This is equaling that, that's caught in between here. And then like if you're here and you want to get there to that goal, then you can see, well, you've got a goal that comes before that goal. You need to have a different
yeah,
timeline. Otherwise, you've got two goals that are in conflict in the same strategy, and it doesn't work. So if I want to meet somebody, but I have to lose 60 pounds before I meet somebody, I've got two different goals, but they appear as the same goal. Well, then I can never meet somebody because I could be spending the rest of my life trying to lose 60 pounds. So
right.
it doesn't work. And then you're going to get mad, and then
Yeah.
you're going to eat, and then you don't achieve either. And so, right?
Yeah.
So you have to separate them. But if you, until you draw it on a line so they can see it, it doesn't make any sense. Then how
Well,
do
I'm
you
sure you
reverse
can
that?
come up with,
Draw the formula, I can work it in reverse, and then
yeah.
I can find a pivot point to make the change. Right? Like what happens right before the panic attack? Oh, you numbed out. All right. Well, the next time you know you numb out, you know what's coming, so we can stop it.
I don't know about
Right? So
that. Even,
whiteboard looking at.
I know when my panic attacks are coming and I can't do anything about it because by the time I realize they're coming, the ship is The horse is out in the barn. And I just need to go
You
grab my I just need to go grab my partner and just have him hold me for a bit to calm me
try to
down.
make it worse. I call it flip the bear. You can't be in power and weakness at the same time. So if you flip the bear, the panic attack has to stop because it has no more reason.
Yeah, well. Anyway,
What are you flipping though? I'm thinking about my own anxiety stuff.
So I'm a panic and anxiety specialist.
Yeah.
Had it really, really bad. So what's the short story? So fear is not afraid, it's subservient too.
I like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're a
Yes.
slave, right? And what you
Mm-hmm.
need, the antidote, is power,
Yeah.
which is actually love. So
Mm-hmm.
love and fear are opposites. They're power and subservience. So you cannot
Mm-hmm.
be in power and subservience at the same time. So if you are in a panic attack, you can change your brain state to stop the panic
Mm-hmm.
attack by what I call flipping the bear. So instead of the bear coming to
Yeah.
get you, causing the anxiety, you get the bear.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having a panic attack, you can, and I'll say, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? And you're like 7.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can make it a 15. Huh? Yeah, make it worse. And then they try, and I go, you up to a 10?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Now what's happening? It's stopping. No.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yes, I totally, yes. When mine were so bad when I came back to the States, I just said, go puke. You feel like you're gonna puke? Go puke. And then every time I did that and I'd go sit in front of the toilet, it would dissipate. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you took control.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, no, it would take too long to explain that. It's about identity, right? And stopping the brain from getting triggered in the first place. If you did nothing, if you just waited it out, it's like flushing
Mm-hmm.
the toilet. Once it's started, you can't really stop it, so you just wait. And it's a chemical
Mm-hmm.
cascade that you only have so much of that chemical, and so if you wait it out, the chemical
Yeah.
burns up. You can't make enough fast enough to have another one, so you just wait for it to end, and then you're good for a while.
Yes, but sorry, Allison, I'm going down this road for a second because it's like all over TikTok. And so when people talk about staying in fight or flight, right? Because they've kicked into the flight, they're using that chemical. How is it possible then if we only have a certain amount of it, that our bodies are staying? Or is it just using different chemicals?
It depends on what you've actually triggered. So the heart of anxiety
Mm-hmm.
is identity.
Mm-hmm.
And typically speaking, I can change that in one session because we're using the wrong scale. So I teach the correct scale, the one that the brain uses. And once you give the brain what it needs, you
Mm-hmm.
disempower the anxiety. It doesn't matter what's triggering it or why or how long you've had it.
Yeah.
It's completely irrelevant. It's identity based. It has to do with
Mm-hmm.
epigenetics. And you learn self-esteem, but it's the wrong scale. So I get people off of that scale onto the right scale so that their
Yeah.
self-esteem is appropriately measured. Then the body knows what to do with that. It's pre-wired. It's
Yeah.
looking for the truth. Once you reacquaint it with the truth, it wants to stay there. But it's the what
Yeah.
is the truth part.
Mm-hmm.
That is the part. So with yeah, there's quite a few things I teach. I change your the second piece I change your relationship to fear.
Mm-hmm.
And then fear is no longer scary. Because in reality, if you're feeling fear, you're fine. If you were really in trouble, you wouldn't have any. The brain would kick in and you'd have complete peace. It's like lamb to slaughter. So if you're feeling the fear,
Mm-hmm.
it's proof you're fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's also a book called The Gift of Fear, which I highly recommend.
Yeah.
It's when you learn the fear system, it is
Mm-hmm.
so amazing and so smart
Mm-hmm.
that you cannot help but be in awe. Like it's stunning the level of intelligence in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, fear is meant to be motivating. That's why it feels terrible to get your ass off the couch. If you
Yeah.
didn't feel terrible, you'd sit there. So it's meant to
Yeah.
feel bad, but it's not meant to be applied unless you're actually under threat. So if your self-esteem is low, you're triggered easily.
Yeah. Very true.
So you change the self-esteem, you take out the trigger, and then it has no reason to fire.
Yeah. Hold on. My stepson is texting me or calling me. He's on the 3rd floor. Let me text him and say I'm teaching a class. He probably needs groceries. 1 second. I'm so sorry. Okay.
So flipping the bear is, if I think about it, is the use of paradox, and paradox will disrupt a thought. If you can disrupt the thought,
Yeah.
the brain will abandon the panic sequence. It'll just get this, it's
Mhm.
like squirrel, right?
Yeah.
It's that easy. I mean, we live in a meat suit. It's possible to be the boss.
Yeah.
People don't realize.
Lady Gaga wears one.
Yeah, I can't stop myself from binge eating. Really. Hmm. Not buying it.
Well, let's look at Maria, our client Maria tonight, and see how we can contextualize some of her life. So she's got her background. She's 34. She's married with 2 young children. She recently started a fitness journey and she's aiming to run a half a marathon. Her hobbies are gardening and painting. When it comes to life balance, she struggles with the time between work and family. Her belief system is a strong sense of community, values collaboration over competition. And then her personal background is her family. So with the 2 young kids, Maria's coaching strategies may involve creating a time management plan that allocates specific periods for family. So ensuring that she can balance parental responsibilities with the professional goals that she has. And as far as her health, as she's looking to do this marathon, and the coaching sessions might include setting fitness milestones for her, so she can track her journey. With her hobbies, with her gardening and painting, leveraging that and coaching, connecting her creative side. So maybe finding a way to integrate the gardening or the creative side or the painting into marketing strategies or using them to relieve her stress or maybe in her current job if she isn't already. And then with her belief system of valuing community and collaboration, our coaching may involve identifying opportunities where these values can be translated into her leadership style and her team management. And then her professional environment is she's a mid-level marketing manager at a tech startup. And she aims to be the marketing director. Her dynamic at work is fast-paced environment. And she recently started to lead a team. And the challenges with her role is balancing the creative marketing strategies with the data-driven results. So as far as career aspirations for Maria, her goal to become the marketing director may lead to coaching objectives around leadership, development, strategic thinking, building a personal brand within the tech industry, those things. For a work dynamic, since it's a fast-paced environment, strategies could involve resilience training, stress management, and the development of project or agile project management skills to keep up with the demands of her role. And then with the challenges, balancing creativity with the data could be a focal point in her coaching. So helping her to integrate her natural strengths with her analytical skills that she needs for the job, right? And then her socio-cultural, she comes from a collectivist culture that emphasizes family and community and traditions, so values cultural traditions, actively participates in the community festivals. In society, her expectations, so navigating the societal pressures of professional success and a traditional family role as mom. And I think that's just meant to be a second sentence, that each aspect of her context might influence her coaching objective strategies. So we'll just skip that last one, but cultural norms, how that would influence. So her collectivist background could shape the coaching strategies to enhance the teamwork and the communication within her role, and ensuring that her approach aligns with her cultural values. And then the traditions, acknowledging and respecting her participation in community festivals, could involve planning for her professional schedule to accommodate these important cultural events, right? And would also easily involve her family time. And then with societal, the pressure of a professional success and the traditional family roles could lead to coaching conversations around setting realistic expectations, developing self-compassion, and navigating societal pressures with confidence. Anything else that you would add if you were her coach?
That to me smacks of a treatment plan. And that's one thing that, so we're given a sample coaching contract, like a capital C coaching contract, the smaller
Yeah.
one in session. But the one
Yeah.
thing I haven't seen, and I do them in therapy, but the one thing
Yeah.
I haven't seen is a strategy laid out like that in some sort of a report form or framework or something where you're kind of filling in blanks or because to
you
an
can-
extent you'll take almost everybody through a common set of things and then there'll be some specific things. So you can't perfectly predict everybody's treatment plan by any stretch. But I would
Right.
think that there'd be a format or something.
Well, yeah, you can fill out a lot of people, I used to, I haven't lately, they give them an onboarding form and they ask them questions. So you can ask some of these
Yeah.
questions and you can have it as a onboarding form before you start.
Right.
I usually have enough calls with my clients beforehand and I figure this stuff out pretty quickly. I'll tell you what's missing from this, and I know you get into the questions, is I don't know what her goals are. This is great information. It informs
Right.
me on who she is, but there's nothing here that says, why did she look for a coach?
She coming to coach. Yeah.
Yeah, if she want to coach because she's looking for work-life balance, because she wants strategies to get to the next level, because she wants support in running the marathon. It's yeah, so does she just, yeah, so so this is a great summary and it's great information, but then I go look at the questions and I'm like, but yeah, so if we're staying in a generic, like, one of the first questions is
Right.
direct versus indirect. I think it's the level of my questions, where an indirect person, I might ask a precursor question and not just get to the big
Yeah.
one. Right, like someone who I was working with, someone, who was reporting to the CEO. They were having some communication challenges, and I could be direct with her, but playful. Like I knew not to go in hard. And it was like, okay, so
Yeah.
she says this, then you do this, then she says this, and you react with this. And
Yeah.
you guys go, how's that working for you? And she busted up and she just started laughing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so versus saying, well, it seems like you guys are in in a battle of wits, right? I would have,
Mhm.
I was able to give it more context where somebody else. So I think the direct versus indirect is just, and that's something I do with my foundation session is what is the level of their sensitivity, reactionism, saboteurs?
Yeah.
If I have a perfectionist and I come in there and make it seem like they're doing something wrong when I challenge them, right? So, I mean, it's all
Yeah.
information, right? And as
Yeah.
coaches, I think we get really good at reading that energy, figuring that out really quickly and
Yeah.
tempering to it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're all a little bit intuitive, empathic, and
Yeah.
in what we do, and we all can read energy. It's like
Mhm.
I don't advertise that because my clients would think I'm nuts if I
Right.
said, yeah, well, I read your energy and I'm pretty
Gee.
intuitive and I can feel what you're feeling. And, so, the tech people would laugh me out of the room. But,
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I think it's all information. But I think our
Mhm.
job is to take all this information and match, like we talked earlier in the
Mhm.
document, you match the style to that. So I think
Right.
I brought this up before. It's like you want a challenge to expand, not contract.
Mhm.
So I think I'd
Yeah.
be explaining that. I don't know if you were here when but that's my thing is like
No.
I tell my clients, my job is to challenge you to expand, not to contract. To not trigger your
Mhm.
saboteurs, to trigger your self-judgment,
Mhm.
for you to go, oh,
Mhm.
yeah. So that's our job. Our job is to understand how to, quickly how to challenge our clients for expansion, not contraction.
Mhm.
If they're contract, then
That's
we
good.
failed.
Yeah. Right. Mhm. Very true.
We failed, because we didn't get enough information, we weren't paying attention,
Mhm.
we missed something, right?
And Bonnie, I think, what Allison's saying is just you create an intake form and ask the kind of questions that you want to know the answers to as you're going in to set up a relationship with a new client. And then you can use that information as kind of like a springboard when you're meeting with them the first few times, finding out the big, like, what do they really want to talk about? What's their goals? What are they looking to achieve? And kind of coming up with a loose laid plan, as I like to call it, with the clients.
I'm starting to develop a cheat sheet finally. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is it that I need to know in order to bridge with
Yeah.
somebody? And
Mm-hmm.
using the competencies as a bit of a guide,
Yeah.
right? If those are the
Good.
competencies, and what can I ask to make sure I've covered all of those bases, but it makes sense to me. Because trying to
Mm-hmm.
force it or use their questions, and like, for example, that one, the measuring tool, and sometimes it's appropriate to say on a scale of 1 to 10,
Yeah.
and other times it's just not appropriate, right? And if they've
Right.
already, like last time, if they've already told me what something means to me or means to them, why something is important to them, for me to stop and go, well, why is that important to you, is going to disrupt their thinking, because they're going to be thinking, well,
Yeah.
I just told you that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So a more useful
Yeah.
question is how do you know? Right? Like, that's simple. How do you know? Right? To me,
What's
that makes,
important to the client?
well, whatever it is, instead of on a scale of 1 to 10, well, how do you know?
Gotcha. I see
And
what
I,
you're saying.
in counseling, I get more ground covered from that question. How do you know? Because they're predicting stuff,
Yeah.
right? Well, how do you know? I want it to be this, but that's going to happen. Or so and so thinks that. Or,
Mm-hmm.
well, how do you know? Or I always do
Mm-hmm.
this, or whatever. How do you know? And then I'll get the story about, well, in the past, this has happened and da 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 da. Like, but the 1 to 10 question doesn't get me very far, really. It seems
Yeah. It's a good,
unnatural.
yeah. Yeah. It's a good quick gauge. It's not something to really use at all in fully understanding where our client's coming from that day, what's going on.
Well, yeah. You know, it's
Mhm.
to me, it's simple enough to say they bring me 10 things and I say, well, which one of those things is foremost in your mind?
Yeah.
Good enough. We'll go with that, right? Like, I don't know. It
Yeah.
just, some of it just seems so it's finding. So if I'm hearing you correctly on the treatment plan, as it's called in therapy, I guess you're equating that to an intake in coaching, in which case, it the whatever questions are on it would be whatever makes sense to me to know. And
Yes.
this is actually a fairly decent guide for breaking it down
Mhm.
into fill in the blanks a little bit. So you've got your personal background,
Mhm.
um, influences, your
Yeah.
professional environment influences. See, I would put that together. So I would have personal, professional, socio, spiritual, which is
Mhm.
missing from there, actually,
Yeah.
interestingly enough.
I think she's just
So yeah,
assuming
I
it
could
in
probably
belief
retool
systems.
this.
Yeah, I mean, and look,
Yeah.
so when you're looking at client management systems to use with your clients, and you might already have one with your therapy, like they already usually include an intake form with way more information than you'd want to know about a client. But I just found it really interesting to look at those intake forms to go, oh, yeah, that's a great question to ask. Oh, yeah, I do want to know when their anniversary is, or I do want to know, the age of their children, you know, little things like that and the bigger things. Yeah. Well, let's take a break. Let's come back at 1:30, and then we will listen to a recording.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There's a big curly tail.
He stands at my armpit height.
That's cute.
He
How many
thinks
dogs
so.
do you how many dogs do you have, Bunny? There's a cutie.
We had 5. He had 2, I had 2, and then Husky adopted us about 3 years ago, and then his big girl dog developed cancer, and he failed to treat her, so she had to get put down in the end of August, just as his mom is dying, so the day before.
Oh my gosh.
And so I have him because I got awarded the house during this process. And so at the end of the divorce, he'll keep that guy with the curly tail. And then I get the husky, my lab, and my little beagle when I go.
Okay.
And so yeah, everything is supposedly done, but I found out yesterday that his financing has been put on hold. And I have a offer accepted on a home with a deadline of December 11th. So I'm starting to get a little panicky. A little bit of cold sweat fear going on.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why it stalled. I can
Yeah.
guess, but and I don't know what happens because there's no plan B. There's no price house in my price point. In the
Mm-hmm.
$400,000 range that I can do by myself, there isn't anything. I
Right.
got the last one, not even kidding. So I have to go up another
Okay.
$150,000 if I don't get this deal. So if he delays
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
I so uh I'm a little stressed.
Understandable. Yeah.
I should have my keys and be moving in 2 weeks.
Sucks.
Yeah. As it is, once I do get a check, it would have to sit in the bank for 10 days before I can do anything with it. So I'm like,
Oh, right, because it's so big.
yeah, I don't know what his deal is, but if he keeps this up, I'm going to take all the dogs.
I don't blame you.
Poor big Fred.
Okay, so I'm gonna listen to recording with me and my client Joe. Yeah,
Are we just observing?
and we'll just listen. Yeah, we're just observing, listening
Okay.
along to get a different perspective. Hear somebody else coach. Did you all hear it start? Okay, I think I have to take my earbuds out. Forgot if I did this last time.
Hey Holly, I'm good.
Did you hear her then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. What have you been doing today?
Doing a little self-care day. Got myself
Good.
got my nails done, cleaning my house. Trying to recover from my night shifts.
Well, that was really good. You're taking care of yourself and doing all those things that matter. So, what would you like to explore today in our session?
I knew you were gonna ask me this, and I have no idea. Um, hmm. So things have just been super stressful lately with going through a divorce, trying to sell a house that's not selling. Job is also real shitty. So
Yeah.
trying to look for another job and I don't know, I kind of feel like I am just surviving right now. Um, so I think for me, just
I do this thing where I like try to do everything on my own and push through, and don't necessarily ask for help or take the breaks where they're needed. So maybe kind of just focusing on like where I can ask for help or what else I can do to kind of help get through this difficult time.
So when you think about surviving and asking for more help or looking for ways to work through just this period of your life right now, what would be the biggest relief for you to have?
A lot of things come to mind. Things that are not necessarily doable. But I think I just, like, it feels very lonely. So having an outlet, like somebody to talk to, bounce ideas off of, just share the experience with.
I am so sorry that you're going through all of this right now. What would having an outlet feel like for you?
Uh, it feels like in like different parts of life, it feels like I just wear this mask. Like at work, I have to be one way, I have to be a leader, I have to be positive, I have to, I'm the one that people are coming to with their problems or issues and I'm the problem solver and I've got to fix everybody else's problems. And at home, it's taking care of the house and the kids and I just don't think having that outlet is just being able to create that space for me that like all of those masks can come off and I can just sit with all the feelings. Because I tend to shove all of those down in order to keep daily life going.
What would be the most meaningful way that we could talk about creating some of these outlets in your life?
Um, I don't know, Holly. I guess just ideas of how I can create that space, how I can like make that more of a priority instead of putting myself on the back burner.
And so I hear you say, make this more of a priority, creating this space. How does that sound?
Yeah.
How will we know that we have achieved that for you by the end of our session?
Oh. I will have some ideas of what I can or will do. And I guess creating like a frequency of how and when, or when and where I'll make that happen.
What are you not willing to do to prioritize this right now?
What am I not willing to do?
Yeah.
Um. hmm. I don't know yet.
If you could change one thing or change something about your situation right now, something that was within your control, what would you change? Yeah. You know, what would you change to help yourself?
That's the thing, I don't. It feels like nothing is in my control, I think, which is part of the hardest part of this. I have no timeline, I have no control over what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's probably part of it, right? And I think the only thing that I do have control over is myself. And trying to trying to just create that space for myself to feel and express all the frustrations and all the feelings.
When you think about a lot of this not being in your control and not being able to organize a timeline, what visuals come to mind for you?
Hmm. Um, no, I keep coming back to the word tangled. Like there's so much of our life that we're still trying to untangle from each other.
Mhm.
But then it just feels like all of the, it's almost like the thought of the future and all of the memories of the past are all kind of like knotted up together,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. Like there's a lot of unraveling that has to be done.
I do understand that. When you see the knot in your head, what material is it made of?
I don't know, I guess yarn. The like frizzy yarn.
What's for the yarn?
I don't know, it just looks frizzy,
Frizzy. Okay.
like not smooth, like it's easy to get caught
Yeah,
up. Oh.
that makes sense. What do you have in your life right now that could help you take just a little baby step towards working on getting some of that knot undone?
Mm. I don't know, cause it almost feels like the harder I try, the more, like the tighter the knot gets. Um, kind of like when I'm trying to untangle a necklace. Kind of like the harder you pull, the worse it gets.
Mhm.
Um, and this is, and I've said to myself, like, this whole thing is, a lesson in patience.
Mm.
Um, I tend to be very stubborn. I tend to want to be in control. Um, and it just feels like, I don't know. Like just practicing some surrender. Um, and just trying to trust that everything will work out. In the end, it's just really hard to be patient and get there.
Mhm. What does surrender look like for you?
I'll just say it's not like not caring,
Mhm.
not like necessarily that. But just, I guess, taking the actions that I need to take, like, it's not that I am not still doing things or taking action, but just trying to not not be so attached to the outcome.
What have you attached to the outcome?
What have I attached to the outcome?
Yeah.
Like, I guess, for example, the house. I want the house to sell for a certain amount of money so that I have a set amount of money to buy a new place, or like our divorce agreement, I want it to go a certain way. But it's not just me, it's an agreement between two of us. So there's some give and take there. Or, even trying to control like how my kids get through this. Like there's so much we can do to like keep things normal as for them as possible, but like but still knowing that they're gonna have their own experience of this, and I can't control how it makes them feel, or how we're messing them up, how we're messing them up.
You said earlier that you're not a very patient person. What's a strength that you do have that you could apply? I guess for better or for worse, I can keep all of my feelings and reactions minimal. So even if I'm super upset or anxious or stressed out about stuff, I can still appear to be calm, and like it's not bothering me, which is beneficial for work and taking care of the kids. That helpful as far as removing your masks and finding a safe space to take them off?
I don't necessarily, I don't think I would say that it's helpful for that. If anything, it's sort of a hindrance because I'm so good at stuffing everything away that it takes a little bit to be able to open up and get things out.
So what's a way that you could challenge yourself to let some of your masks down at the appropriate times?
That's a great question. I guess for the days that I don't work and when I have, like when the kids are off to school, like I could make some time for myself in the mornings when I'm alone to just like process my thoughts. And kind of check in with myself instead of distracting myself with board games and news and all the other things. Driving to the grocery store, funny enough, tends to like make me get emotional. Yeah.
What do you think it is about the drive that helps you release some of your feelings?
I don't know. It's like one of those autopilot drives. So I guess my
Yeah.
brain, I don't really have to think about where I'm going. So my brain can just kind of do its thing. But yeah, more often than not, a drive to the grocery store will end up in some tears.
How long of a drive is it to get to the grocery store?
It's only like 12 minutes.
Yep.
Not very long. But then it's also like allowing that to happen.
Mm.
And to get everything out versus like feeling it coming and stuffing it back away.
What are you learning about yourself as we what are you learning about yourself as we go through our session today?
I don't think this is like, I'm not learning necessarily anything new. But I do know like I need to make more time for myself to let the emotions out. It's just like I get super tense and stay that way. And I know I need to just make more time for me.
What are some ways you could go about making some more time for yourself?
I mean, it's just a little bit of a like change in my routine. The weeks that I am off from work, at least Monday through Thursday every other week.
Yeah.
I have, you know, with the kids in school, I have my morning and into early afternoon free. So, you know, I usually have my breakfast and then go straight to working out and just keeping myself distracted. But I could find some time early still in the morning after the kids leave to either journal or just like process my thoughts in some way.
How has distracting yourself served you in the last few months of all of this?
I mean, it serves its purpose, right?
Mhm.
The distractions keep me from breaking down and having to feel everything. I feel like it's similar to, I don't drink much, but, I used to. I used to have, a glass of wine or two every night. And I like made a conscious effort to stop and noticed when I did, like, kind of those feelings that come up, like you kind of just almost or start searching for another way to like numb yourself, from feeling all the overwhelm and chaos and all the things. So while I'm not doing that again, I still am distracting myself with other things. So I guess it's just noticing. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore, but noticing what those feelings are or what's going on, like why I'm trying to distract myself. Because I think there's more to learn and to grow and to know about myself, being in the discomfort versus distracting. And the distractions are always going to be there. Like, that's easy, right? Because we're all kind of made to go towards comfort. So I think that comes naturally. But kind of forcing and being with the discomfort. There's a lot to learn in that.
So what is one way that you can force yourself from a distraction?
I don't think there's a great way to force being away from distractions, but it could be like a morning walk without the phone, or even, having the phone and setting a timer and for maybe it's 10 minutes just sitting there, 5-10 minutes just sitting there kind of in a meditation, or giving myself a few minutes to write in the morning. Just about whatever comes up.
So you said you could take a walk. You could set a phone timer for about 10 minutes to meditate or take some time to write in the morning.
Yeah.
Which of those three, what's one you'd like to commit to trying in the next week?
I'll add in some morning walks.
What mornings do you have where that fits naturally?
Every morning from now till Thursday, through Thursday.
Today's Friday.
Yes.
So what's a fair amount of what's a fair goal as far as like amounts of walks to take in the morning?
We'll say 4 out of the next 6 days.
Okay. Something you said earlier, way earlier, when you were talking about needing relief and an outlet to talk and to share, and that you struggle to ask for help. What's a way that you could ask for some help in the next week?
I was really hoping you forgot about that part. I don't know. Um, hmm. I don't know if there's anything I need help with in the next week.
Maybe that's the better question.
Um,
What's one thing you wish you could take off your plate? That you actually can take off your plate?
hmm. I don't know. I literally don't know. Because all the things I would like to take off my plate are things that I cannot.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. That's something to think about. Right.
Yeah, how willing are you to kind of do a little bit of mulling over of the asking for help in some of your walks in the next week?
Oh, I'm very willing.
What are some obstacles that might stop you from taking your 4 walks?
It's very cold in the mornings. Um, but despite that, there should not be that many excuses other than just being cold.
Who is someone you could bring alongside yourself as you continue to work on finding more outlets and taking these masks off?
I have a couple of really good friends that I can talk to about anything. And that are usually available to listen when I need to talk or vent or whatever it is.
When might you have like a set time that you know you could reach out to one of them in the next week?
I don't know.
As we're coming to a close here, at the beginning, you wanted to talk about needing to find some safe spaces and outlets where you could take some of your masks off. And you had a pretty strong visual of a knot being just really tangled up with frizzy thread. So meaning it's not easy to untangle it. And you committed to taking 4 walks out of the next 6 days and really thinking about how are some ways you could ask for help and bring people alongside you. Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
So how much progress do you feel that we've made towards your goal today?
I would say a good amount of progress because I have been avoiding thinking about it. So this is actually very helpful.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about or explore before we end our session?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Well, I look forward to talking to you next week and seeing how your walks went.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Joanna.
Thank you.
Hey. What were some thoughts, or maybe what were some questions that you would have liked to have asked if you were the coach?
No, I think it's just observation, she came with no topic. And you were so spacious with her. Like every time she was like, I don't know, I can't, you just asked a question a different way.
Mhm.
So she didn't get to stay in that but it was so low pressure. It was paused, it was paced, it was, and then even at the beginning, just, you were so emotionally with her before you even, just to get her to the contract, right?
Yeah.
So it was it was a very slow paced piece, but she was just feeling and going through so much. Like, I don't know that I could have been in that space with her like that. So I commend you for that. Now, again, I don't do that kind of coaching, but specifically,
Right.
but it was yeah, and you didn't get hung up when she got hung up. Which I really appreciate, is that you found a way, at least it didn't feel like you were getting flustered or frustrated, that you were just like, okay, I couldn't get here from the north, so let me try from the west and see if the west will get her moving, right? So
Yeah.
I like, and you asked some really great questions. She didn't know how to answer them, but it was like was
Yeah.
something near the beginning, like, what don't you, there was like a question like
Oh,
that near
yeah.
the beginning. Yeah, I forgot, but there was a couple of them that were really good because they jarred the thinking differently. So yeah, no, I
Yeah.
thought, yeah.
I only laugh because she used to be a coach. So showing up to a coaching session without a topic was like,
Well, then you were like, and then but no, one question, like I always ask at the beginning, this is being recorded
yeah,
to use, you didn't do that. Does that not matter because they know it's recorded, or but I always say to them at the beginning of the call, and at the end of the call, if you wanna, based on what we talk about, if you change your mind, you can let me know. So I
oh,
do,
no, I haven't ever done that. And
Okay.
I mean, I talked to them before I hit record. I just don't record it. When
Okay,
I'm,
I didn't know that because I have that
yeah,
in my thing I submitted to Cheryl, just to be clear.
yeah.
I do the same thing.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
ask
better,
about recording while it's being recorded because then I have a record that they said yes and record in case anything ever happened later. And I don't suspect my people would ever do that. It's just if I apply the same rule to everybody, then I'm not discriminating.
yeah. Good point. I was really nervous that it wouldn't pass because, I mean, she was crying multiple times. So like as deep as we went, there also was, besides her naming the divorce and selling her house, like there wasn't a lot of other naming of like what was going on. But at the end of the day, that didn't, like, she knew what it was in her head. I didn't need to know. Right. And so sometimes like we can be curious just because we personally are curious. But if I don't need to know, then I don't need to know. Also, I've been coaching her for a while, so I do know, right? So then it was like pointless to ask certain questions. But I think it's just an example of we don't always have to know every detail of what they're talking about to still have a good coaching session.
Yeah, that's something that I work on sometimes, like we get into these things and they're esoteric and it's like, yeah, it can be challenging for me at times and I have to work on that, you know, just to be like, okay, I can just be in the space with them and I don't have to understand it. I still can be reflective and all of that, yeah.
Yeah, that made me really nervous at first when I became a coach. But that was also just my background of,
Yeah.
you know, how I operated and what my job was.
So this was one of the two ones you submitted.
Yes.
What made you think this was it, you know, I'm just curious, like, cause I'm trying to work on mine right now, so.
Yeah.
What made you think, I think I hit the markers here, I think this would be a good one, because it was very slow, and obviously it hit the markers and. You went through the frame, the before and the after and all of that. How did you get the confidence to say, like, this is a good one? Is it your coach told you it was a good one? That did markers, or I'm just curious how you.
I mean, it kind of came down to like, I have to turn this in and I need another recording and I just need to, because I don't always record. When I do record, like I said, I tell them at the beginning, but it is smart just to start recording it anyways. So I was just kind of like, well, I've got Joe today. We'll just record Joe and see how it goes. And then I gave it to my mentor and was like, does this fly? And then they were like, actually, yeah, it does. And it was, I mean, it was good to like go through it. It's always good to go through with your mentor, like, you know, where you can improve, what was good. What, like I said, I was fearful that maybe it wasn't going to work because we didn't have it all explained out. But that was good to have the reminder that, like I just said, we don't have to have all those things spelled out to coach someone.
Yeah,
And there was something else I can't remember that I was like, oh, I don't know. But it ended up, yeah, hitting them and working. So for me, it's just more like I feel like I felt like this one's pretty good. I also was being pushed, but I also like with my first one, it just felt good to me. So it was like, well, this feels really good to me. I'm afraid to submit it because what if it's horrible? But then I'm like, Holly, you're not a horrible coach. You can like do this all the time, like turn it in. And then the second one, yeah.
well, it's, yeah, because I did my recording, I coached a longtime friend, but I also coach her from time to time.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because when we got off the phone, I'm like, I don't think that was your topic. And I didn't say that to her on the
Yeah.
call because I was just like trying to hit the marks.
Right.
And then there was a piece when she was throwing in something and I knew a piece of information she didn't bring up. And so I'm like, you know, in a previous session, we talked about, it was how much she offered, the charge, you know, is that what impact does the price you're charging affect your nervousness? And then when I was trying to use like, when else in your life have you doubted yourself and thought
Mhm.
you were out of your league when it went well? And
Yeah.
she gave me a negative example and I didn't coach the negative example. But I knew
Yeah.
a positive one because I've known her for 35 years.
Yeah.
And I said, so what about what about with the lawyers? That's all I had to say.
Mhm.
And then she's like, oh, yes, I remember. I was very nervous. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't know how to do it. And I figured it out. You know, what did you learn
Yeah.
from, you know, so I'm pulling in stuff from previous, and so I don't know. We'll see. She was so good at the end. She got we went through ACCs together, but because of my health issues, I fell behind on doing our PCCs together.
Yeah.
and she thought it was a good call and thought I did. So we'll see what, like Cheryl and I have our call next week,
Yeah.
but I'm
Okay.
gonna coach my business coach's boyfriend, who I've met, but not, that's it. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to find someone I have less history with and try to do
Right.
but is familiar with coaching. So I'm gonna coach,
Right.
yeah, and then I might, also I could reach out to former clients if I want.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna do it with any existing clients, because I
Right.
don't always stay in the pure modality with them.
Right. Yeah. And because Joe used to be a coach, she knew I was like recording it for a recording.
Yeah, and my girlfriend knew that too, right?
Yeah.
And I did another one with another friend, but I was too busy looking at the markers to just coach. So
Yeah.
so now I created this like little abbreviated cheat sheet. And
Mhm.
it's just for the opening and the closing, because the one, oh, where'd it go? It's in here somewhere, but it was like one of the questions, I always forget to say, well, what do you need to address? I always forget that one. And
Yeah.
so I just have my quick little, I don't know where it is. It should be in here because I used it the other day, but yeah, so I have a quick little one. It's just topic, measure, important now, need to address. So I have that little cheat sheet.
Yeah.
And then I have progress, new learning self, new learning topic, apply new learning, post-session action or thinking, resources or barriers, accountability, celebrate, champion, partner to close. So I have
Yeah.
that quick, so I know when I get to the end, I can look at this, but I don't need to look at, I'm not looking at, oh, am I being curious
Right.
about the client? Am I silencing and
Yeah.
pausing? Am I exploring words, right? Just putting that
Right.
away, because that's what I do naturally.
Yeah.
And so, but I did do my little cheat sheet that I keep on my thing for this,
Which
for
is
the
totally
recording.
fair.
Yeah, because the need to address one is like the one I always forget.
Yeah. I'll have to get the link from Cheryl, or you guys can ask her when you meet with her next week. And I probably have it somewhere, just not off the top of my head.
Mm.
A YouTube channel link that she's started where she's adding recordings of people that are good in passing, so that there's like more to listen to than just in your cohort, right?
Yeah,
Because it's hard to find things like that, which is completely understandable.
right.
But since we're in a smaller school environment, as people give her the okay, then she can do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. We
So
don't have
maybe-
class next week, so next week, and Bonnie, if you haven't made an appointment yet, you make an appointment. Next week, you're supposed to review your call with her.
mentoring.
Yeah, I just got an email today about it.
And then I'll
Because
see
I
you
haven't
guys.
talked to her about my emotional intelligence quiz yet either, so.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have to catch up on the homework. I'm so far behind. It's too much going on. I always say the week in between, I'm gonna catch up, but I haven't touched the book in weeks. I think it's gonna be a binge.
My
read.
problem is as soon as I pick it up, I end up getting engrossed and I'm spending 3 days researching whatever I'm learning or whatever. The last time I picked it up, I accidentally wrote my website.
I accidentally.
No, seriously. No, I'm not even kidding. It was, I don't know,
Funny.
something clicked and all of a sudden I knew what I wanted to say.
Well,
So
that's
I got it
great.
up and launched and I've got 4 people off it so far and I haven't even finished the SEO on it.
Yeah.
So I guess it worked.
It's like saying you get in your car and you're like, I don't know. I like went to get ready and I accidentally put clothes on. I didn't know I was going to put clothes on today.
Pretty
I just
much.
thought it was
Yep.
gonna-
I've been trying to figure it out for so long and then all of a sudden something clicked and I gotta even trademark my slogan and stuff, but I had been trying to come up with like, what is my niche? Who am I?
Yeah.
And I
it's
follow
hard.
somebody named Sue Bryce and she just works for me.
Mhm.
And she coaches on self-value and money and she is also a professional photographer. Well,
Cool.
I trained in that too.
Mhm.
And so she just resonates with me and she just finished teaching on personal brand.
Mhm.
So now my website is just me, my name, who I am and what I do. I'm an artist, a counselor, and a thought leader. And what is it that I do? Well, I help people make great decisions.
Mm,
But if you get into it, it's post-trauma.
yeah.
Because
Right.
trauma disrupts that and it can sneak in and so It's working on, well, you either go a therapy route or you go a coaching route. And I explain
Right.
why, like which pathway you're going to choose and why. And you can do a trauma assessment to see if
That's good.
that's
Yeah,
your problem. If not, then you're ready for coaching. And
that's
right
good. I
now,
like that.
yeah, I was just gonna say, when I went through one of my last coaching with Allison, right now I just have one-to-one coaching,
Mhm.
one-to-one counseling set up. But I'm working on what to do with my 12 hours per week and how to get them up to the level that I need them at. Like Allison said, I wasn't charging enough.
Mm.
And so really thinking about that, like how do I get each of those spots worth $200 to $500? And there's ways to do it, but you have to ask that question,
Mhm.
right? So anyway, it's just bonnieaot.com. It's just me.
It's very good.
And
I'm looking at it right now. We did a very good job.
how did you know where it was?
I just Googled you.
She's a tech
I'm coming
nerd.
up in Google.
Well, I put your
You're-
name in.
You're actually not a nerd.
I am, but that's
Wow.
okay.
If I'm coming up in
You're a
Google, that's
hidden
pretty
tech
good.
person.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
I'll just share one thought, if you don't mind, on pricing.
Sure.
I don't publish mine, but if you have to decide who your ideal client profile is. And, your pricing is aligned to that person. So if you want to charge a penny, then you're going to attract a penny crowd. If you charge a nickel, you'll attract a nickel crowd. If you charge a quarter, you're going to attract a quarter charge. So you have to give yourself permission to charge more and to find those clients that are willing to pay more. It's not your clients
Well,
who are going to pay more. It's, you have to decide, your website looks fantastic, by the way, congratulations, but you have to have your ICP, your ideal client persona. And,
Mhm.
it's not just,
struggling with that.
so it's not just psychographics, it's demographics.
Yeah.
Would I love to help every up and coming leader? No, but I can't pay my bills charging 150 an hour. I can't,
Well,
Right.
when I did that, at that time, I had 6 people on my schedule. I set my pricing to try to attract some people because it's better. It's a twice the rate that I'm getting paid through my contract. But then my contract filled me up.
Mm.
And so now I'm gonna have to raise my prices because all of a sudden I have too many clients. They're through my contract though, and my contract hires me out or pays me half of what they hire me out for.
Oh yeah, I have those too. So, but I have my
Mhm.
own clients. And one of the things I'll teach you if you take a class on building your business is if you're getting 150 easily, then you raise it to 200. When you're getting 200
Yeah.
easily, you raise it to 250, right? Or 300. You keep going up. But for me, I never offered at that price point. No, I didn't make, because I'm not looking for that audience. Right? Now I have companies that I work for and they'll give me clients and I get between 175 and 300 or 250, I'm sorry, 250, 240 and 300 an hour. But I demanded that after a year or so with them saying, I'm not working for 120, I don't work for that. But you have to decide who your client is, the psychographics and the demographics. And until you know that, then you can know what they can afford.
Well, I'm
So
thinking too is where I need to go, and that's not far off what experienced therapists are getting. At this point, when did I graduated? So I'm out in the field 12 years as a therapist specifically, but I have longer experience than that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm fast. So when people pay me more per hour, but they're not seeing me forever.
well, that's the same with me. Like I got interviewed for this company and they're like, well, ask me about my clients renewing. I thought we'd talk, and I said, you're asking the wrong question. You're asking if I'm addressing their challenges and needs and they're getting their outcomes. Because that's what I want to be known for, not creating codependent relationships where they stay with me for 3 years.
Well,
And
yeah,
they ended up putting me on their team, but I'm like, yeah, you're looking for, to me, and you're asking the wrong question. The company ended
yeah.
up failing themselves, but there was the wrong question. So is one of my girlfriends said, you can shift somebody more in one session than I can in 3. So there's an efficiency in the work I do because because I'm brave enough and I ask those things I'm feeling. So, I don't post my pricing. I also don't do it per hour. I do it per package. And the reason I do that is my clients can reach out to me in between if they want me to read something, or they have a link for like, or they can text me for a quick check-in, like they just had a meeting go awry,
Mhm.
or they're nervous about a meeting. So I told them that you're paying for the partnership, you're paying for my time. I'm not gonna check it, mark it by the clock, because if you're asking me and I have to do research on something, then I have to charge you for that time too. And, you know, when I'm consulting, and so I do it by package, not by hour.
See,
And
I haven't figured out how to do that yet, like package. I have some ideas. And I did do a quiz over the weekend too with Ajit. I can't think of the name. Mind Valley anyway. And my personality, my coaching archetype is a creative online course um business model, which is what I'm headed for, because I'll tell you right now, I did 10 sessions this week out of my 12. I had only 2 unfilled spots, and I am beyond zooed. So me one-on-one for 12 spots isn't a long-term solution.
system, yeah.
Mhm.
I need
But-
to create I need those, but I mean I need what I need for my minimum bills, right? And so now all my slots are full. So I have to start swapping out the contract clients for private clients, and I have to charge more per hour in order to make that work. But I haven't figured out packages yet, how to deliver packages. I haven't found something that works. I can't.
Cheryl's a good one to talk to about, and I know we're past
Yeah.
time, we're past time, so.
Yeah,
Oh.
I gotta go, but you all could keep chatting
No,
all you
I gotta
want.
go, I gotta go too.
Yeah. But yes,
gotta go to
Cheryl's
dinner.
great at the packaging and putting things together.
And the only
Yep.
thing I'll leave you with is thought is like, as you start switching to coaching, just look for the common themes, the common thing. So your group program, right? And the presenting issues versus, you know, with therapy, the presenting issues versus the real issues. And then we talked about the Iki guy before, right?
Yeah.
Iki, yeah. So what is it? What is the intersection of what do you love to do? What are you really good at? What does the world need? And what will they pay for? And we often ignore that fourth one because we want to be in service, but we have to be in service of ourselves too.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so you just
Okay,
have to figure
ladies.
out who your client is that will pay 250 or 300 an hour for to work with you.
I'll give that a further thought. You put it in a way that made sense.
Yeah,
It's not a new idea, but the penny dropped, so to speak, on that one.
yeah, yeah. We use that analogy with my friend. It's like, you know, you're always coaching, you're going after the penny nickel dime clients and you don't think you're worth the quarter clients. And so I challenged her, and now she's like, now she's comfortable asking for $10,000 for clients, which she never did before. And they're like, oh my God, they said yes. I said, yeah, because you're worth it. But if you
I
don't,
can. I'm just not sure when I'm going to start.
yep. Anyway, okay, we'll see
Yep.
you in a week
Right,
and
You
a
guys
half.
have a great week off, and I'll see you back after that week.
Okay.
Thanks, Holly. You
Okay.
too.
All
I
right.
feel better.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.